Okay, I'm going to give you a tour of my shop. We built this in 1990. Yeah, 1990. This is a big radial arm drill that I got at HPS. It had a broken beam on it. I welded that up. We had the motor rewound that does the lifting. It's an amazing machine. I can drill a 2-inch hole. I can drill a 1/4-inch hole. In fact, Scott and I put a platform out here, and I don't know how many little 1/4-inch holes we punched. A lot. And it's got automatic feed, and you can slow the speed of the drill. You can speed it up. You can slow the feed down. You can make it go backwards and forwards. It's a hell of a machine. I haven't used it much lately. This is a new grinder. A couple of the guys that come in here on weekends I work with decided we needed another grinder because it's kind of a bottleneck. So they bought the stuff and put it together, and now we've got 2 grinders, and this is a variable frequency drive. Goes very slow, and it goes very fast. It actually runs up to 100 cycles, which is very good for wood and some finish work you're trying to do. This wood stove keeps things pretty warm. It's old, been here, had a lot of wood shoved through it. It's adequate.
Fire sprinklers in here?
Yeah. I built a guy a cannon that has a sprinkler company, and he came over and put sprinklers in for me. I got all the buffers set up on this bench now, and it works pretty handy. This is a little 400 grit rubberized plate that has got tapers on it, so you can work a blade on one side or the other and not hit the other side. It's a pretty cool little wheel. It shines things up. This is my final buffer. I start here. I've had this one for a long time. I had to replace the switch once in it. That seems to be the weak point on them. The motors run. That thing's 20, 25, 30 years old. No, those are cow horns. Those are an Angola Watusi. I did raise it from about 500 pounds. I had 2 of them. And Tom bought them for me, and I thought they were longhorns.
Oh, yeah.
And they look like longhorns. When they're little, they're red with white stripes backs on them, and but they don't look like longhorns when they grow up.
They get big, no.
And I kept that horn. I made a blowing horn out of one of the shells.
Yeah. Oh yeah, cool.
I ate him. A lot of milling tools here. That's a big dividing head. A really cool tool when you're working on the mill and want to do a spline shaft or something. It divides it up into even parts.
Like in your new mill now, or how's
Yes, it's great. I use it quite a bit. Everything I hoped it would be. It's a spectacular machine. The only thing I don't like about it is this damn handle. I bumped my leg on it a lot, and I come running through here the other day because Maxine hollered at me to come to the phone. I got a knot in my leg. I got these at an auction. There's something I'll probably never use. This is a set of taps and dies. They're huge. This is only 1 layer.
Let's move this over.
If you were to buy those things today,
Yeah, you'd have to put a mortgage on your place.
it goes to 1.5 inches. And these handles are twice.
Yeah, it adds up. It's a 5-foot span.
It is. It's something I couldn't resist, even though I'll never ever use it. And this wasn't made in China. The size of that tap.
Beautiful.
I've used taps that size when I was running the cats and stuff. I don't know that the cat I've got's got anything that big on it. This is an old Monarch lathe. It was made in about 1953. Probably went into a Navy boat or something. It's still a beautiful machine. The ways are beautiful on it. It was flame hardened. Everything works except the electronics, and I've just got a off-on switch on it so I can't reverse the motor. I built that cannon on here. I built a mortar on here. I built 3 other cannons on it. And I've got a guy in Texas that wants another one.
Huh. So you use this quite a bit.
Yeah, when it gets used. And it's so big, and I've got a little tiny boring bar in there now that'll go inside of a 3/4 inch.
Nice. Is this a little crane up above it here?
Yeah, I can't pick the damn chuck up even anymore. So I built a jib boom here that when you're old, you learn how to cheat. We actually had a buck hanging on that thing this fall. Oh. I fit up my handles in here, general woodworking. I've got a friend down in Arizona this winter, and he's been sending me ironwood. Beautiful.
I'm gonna go on knives.
Yep, we make handles out of them. Unfortunately, there's quite a bit of defect in some of it, but I can still get a beautiful handle or 2 out of a piece like that.
Cool.
And the ironwood polishes without anything on it, almost like marble. A lot of junk, but we use it. Those are from a past life. I used to be a pretty avid scuba diver. We did a lot of spearfishing, free diving, whatever. Had a couple Zodiacs, a couple Avons, 2 different boats. It was great fun. That big forge up there has 2 of Ron Wales' ribbon burners in it. Scott and I built the rest of it. Didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. And we haven't used it for a long time. But it really gets hot, and with those 2 burners in it, we've done a lot of work on big work. We had a whole bunch of huge plates to texture, 1/2 inch. They were 5 feet long, and just about all we could handle. We textured them under the hammer with a hammer die. The little power hammer came from Geronimo's shop when he died. I like to keep it down so somebody doesn't get his finger mashed. It's a 75-pound hammer. Pretty nice little hammer. I get frustrated with it. Like, I've got 3 little boys now that come in every week for a couple hours apiece, and we've made a lot of tongs. And when we're drawing out the handles, it's so slow compared to what the big hammer will do that I turn the big hammer on and finish drawing out the tongs. Because I can do in 2 heats what would take me, and minutes literally, what would take me half an hour. It spoils you when you've got something like this Baudry. It's just an absolute magnificent machine. I got it, and most of you guys know that we got it out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. The whole machine, I don't know what it weighs, but it's got to weigh 6,000 pounds.
I bet it's closer to 8.5.
It's a big chunk of iron.
Yeah, mine weighs 4,500.
Does it?
Yeah, mine weighs 4,500. This is 8,000 if it's
Oh, it's got to weigh 8 then, because the sow block alone, heavier, a lot heavier than yours.
Yeah.
It sheds a lot of slag, a lot of scale. There's a couple pieces of 5160 down there a friend of mine drew out a couple years ago, and they're almost covered up. He hasn't been back. I was digging around my anvil for a tool the other day, and I've got about 2 inches of scale and shit around it that was covering up a bunch of stuff. The acorn table, unfortunately, is covered up with a bunch of trash, but when I need it, I can open it up. I've got some clamps that go down through those holes with them. I made the clamps. They pin through the table at whatever height you want them underneath, and then you can put a big wrench on this and screw down whatever you want to hold. And believe me, it stays there. Scott and I did a couple big signs with clamps like this, actually on your table, right? And they were the big C clamps like this. But my son was making a sign the other day, and we used these and unwrapped a 1-inch piece around them. It doesn't move. I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
You can beat on it, you can pound on it, twist and turn. There's literally tons and tons of pressure. This was a present from a young man that I know that lives in Wyoming. He came out and we made a set of Damascus spurs. He's quite a cowboy roper. And it took us quite a while. And I didn't charge him anything. He's bought a lot of knives from me. And he sent me this oven as a present. I use it mainly for tempering. I have gotten to where I don't use it to heat treat or to harden, but I temper with it. And the problem is if you use it to harden something, it takes it 4 or 5 hours to cool off so that you can temper something. This is a retort we melt brass and bronze in, and I got it from a guy named Terry Carson up in Washington. We haven't used it for a while, but we've melted a lot of brass in it, making signs and letters and different things. It runs on propane, and I've got a casting job right now. And I don't know whether I'm going to use this to melt my brass or if I'll melt it in the forge. I don't need a huge amount, but it's a pretty intricate casting, and I'll invest it in plaster that they use to make jewelry and stuff, because it's the guy that made the molds, made the wax, spent a lot of time on them. That's the tour of the shop. Thanks for watching. I have a lot of fun out here.